every day of my life, my family laughs at me for something. So like when I talk in the car, if I'm praying before we go to bed, like at night, I'm praying and I say one syllable off, it's like. I'm like,
God, can we take a break right now?
Yeah. Guys, come on. Oh,
Lord, I curse this child. She has no respect for the man of God.
I am the Lord's anointed.
Hope I don't see you in my dreams because some crazy stuff happens in those. Are Pentecostals the best clappers?
No, I think Church of God in Christ. Is it Church of God in Christ? Where they do the tambourines?
You gotta have rhythm to run the tambo.
I've been watching this. Oh my gosh, dude! I don't even know what it's called. I have to look it up on my computer. On YouTube, it's these 4-hour live services from these Shiloh something youth conference, and it must be like in Africa.
Okay.
And it's like, doilies on the head.
Yeah.
Like, they go for it, man. But they are having a good time.
So, I mean, there's a lot of people experimenting with AI right now in just a lot of different ways, but there's a supermarket in New Zealand that decided to help their customers, and basically you put the ingredients or what you've got at your house in, and then it says, generate me a grocery list with the stuff I have, and then basically add the other things I need to buy. So that kind of thing. So they're trying to build this technology, and here's what it says. A supermarket experimented with AI to generate meal ideas for leftovers, suggests drinking bleach and eating ant poison sandwiches.
Oh, boy. Okay.
So
All right.
AI is now...
It's trying to kill us.
Yeah, AI, it says...
Well, if you do that, that's just Darwinism.
Well, it's testing our intelligence.
It's talking about certain mocktails that you can make and different ingredients, but one of them, they named it the aromatic water mix. And what it would actually do if you combine all these things, it'll create chlorine gas.
It's trying to make us create chlorine gas.
The bot described the recipe as the perfect non-alcoholic beverage to quench your thirst and refresh your senses.
to death.
It'll refresh your senses.
What was the
right.
question they added? They asked?
Take the stuff I have in my house
Yeah.
and make like recipes out of it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
They recommended the name of that, Fresh Breath.
Fresh breath.
so AI has
The
some
final
humor.
time.
AI's got, dude, look at that. AI is developing a sense of humor.
Devious. I was doing a little bit more research on the old aliens here, and because this is an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
This is, again, like we joked about last week. It's like, next. Wait, hold on, not next. We're talking about other beings, and so listening to this guy, he was talking about how, so he's a Christian, and he was talking about how either aliens are potentially like demons, so maybe potentially demons, but also just the fact that we're really not dealing with a distance thing. We're dealing with an interdimensional thing.
Yeah.
And which, am I right that last time that I heard there was proven to be like 13 different dimensions? That's
There's
what I
a
was.
lot.
I know you said that, yeah.
It's like 11 or 13. So, like, we've already known for a while there's some sort of dimensional thing going on. But this guy was talking about how, these aliens, like, if they were to have to travel in a spaceship, for instance, like what we would call a spaceship, they would have to travel for like 25,000 years at the speed of light to get from wherever the nearest thing would be to to here.
Yeah, the nearest galaxy.
Yeah. So you're talking about wormholes or interdimensional stuff or whatever. And anyway, it got really weird.
Yeah, so we're opening up other dimensions.
Yeah, that's
the
what's
idea.
happening.
Is it like how are we opening up other dimensions? I think that's my question. Is it like Stranger Things stuff? Like we're cracking the underworld? Is it?
Maybe.
I mean, some people are saying Elon Musk is to blame. Now this would be more the galactic stuff where rockets are blowing up and shooting holes in the endosphere and like opening up portals. Dude, there's all kinds of things going on that people are trying to figure out.
People just want Elon to be their scapegoat. I think that's all
know.
that is. It's like,
Zuckerberg's, let's fight.
Dude,
It's true.
They're gonna be fighting, and like Zuckerberg's gonna have him like in a chokehold, and all of a sudden like a wormhole opens up in front of Elon. Like beings start coming out of him. Elon is the portal.
Dude, he's the ultimate sacrifice.
That's what it is. Elon's
Dude, my brain just went.
Elon's the portal to the underworld. It's him. Knew it.
Uh-oh.
I did watch that video you sent.
Which
talking
one?
Talking about the aliens and kind
Yeah.
of scripture backing up.
Yeah.
Hey, as
Yeah.
believers, we've been exposed to interdimensional stuff
Yeah.
for a long
Yep.
time. I mean, since the ancient of days. So it's like, hey, Paul talks about it. Hey, it's a spiritual battle. We fight things that are not from this world. Obviously, what it looks like is always kind of a thing. And that guy had mentioned that some of the people who, after they have experienced some of those alien abduction cases, have then dove into Eastern religions and spiritualism after the fact. So
It'd probably force you into something.
Well,
It
yeah.
forced me one
Definitely.
way. Be like, dude, I went up until like this thing, and one funny part that he did bring up, like with people who say that they've been abducted. He's like, typically they go up into this light, they in the spaceship, and then all of a sudden these beings have these primitive little tools that they begin to like cut them open with. He's like, you're telling me that that these things are gonna fly from wherever, and they came with scalpels and like butter
Flathead
knives.
screwdriver.
Exactly. Hold still.
Where's the screw to open this one up? Give me a Phillips.
That's weird. I've had some weird dreams lately.
Dude, let's hear one.
Yeah, give us one.
I've had dreams. So I've been watching a lot. I say a lot. I've been watching pretty much daily. I've been watching videos of police officers who are basically having to like shoot people and like weird stuff. For instance, the other day I watched one where this guy was obviously, he was off his rocker. I don't know if he was on something or what, but anyway, he just took off running straight at a cop and literally headbutted the guy right in the face.
Wow.
Like he ran full speed, and the cop.
Headbutted the officer.
Yeah. As a cop, you don't.
Yeah, but you don't
know
do
what
that.
this guy's gonna do. And he didn't have his gun out or anything out, a taser, nothing. And the guy just ran at him from about 20 yards out, full head of steam. And the cop, I guess, was expecting him to stop. He never did. And cop ended up with brain damage. Like he can't do his job anymore. Yeah. So anyway,
my
been watching these videos.
Good Lord.
And so I've had some
What a
weird
headbutt.
dreams.
right before you go to sleep,
dude,
huh?
Yeah, right before you sleep.
Yeah. Think on things that are pure, lovely, and of good report. Love it. Wham! Wham! Thank you, Jesus, for this
Cop
day.
street fights. Ray Lewis edition.
Yeah. So one of the dreams I had was that I've also been thinking about I've got a couple guns, so I've been thinking about starting to carry and stuff and kind of looking into that. And so so I don't know, I guess all that together, I ended up in a dream where I was with my family and we're like in a parking lot, and all of a sudden this dude runs up and he starts trying to mug us or whatever, take our stuff, and I, and all of a sudden I pull out my gun. He's like, oh, and he turns around and starts running away, and I just shot the guy in the back. And as soon as I did it, I was like, oh no. Like, you can't do that. If somebody's running away, you can't shoot him in the back. And then all of a sudden I start freaking out. I'm like, oh no, I'm going to jail. Like, and your whole world starts collapsing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it was at that moment I was like, I'm not going to start carrying.
Yeah.
I'm not ready for this.
I'm not mature enough for this.
The wrong training kicked in.
God was like, you're just going to arbitrarily
make a bad
kill
mistake.
people. Like, you need to stop.
God knew you were
Yeah.
thinking
Slow
about
your
it. He's like, hey, we need to shut this down real quick. What do we do?
I'm trying to bind, bad dreams. God's like, no, that's me trying to let you know,
Hey, don't do
it.
this.
You cannot be trusted.
Put that gun away, my friend.
You just got to get mugged. I don't know what to tell you. You just
Give
got to
all your
lose all
stuff
your
away.
stuff, dude.
So don't mug Jordan.
Don't. I'll
Yes.
shoot you.
Well, especially not in his dreams. Not in his dreams. If you're up in that dimension of his dreams,
Done.
keep looking at him in the eyes.
Don't try to wave the white flag. I will shoot you.
I'm just thinking about all the flags we get on this episode now.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can edit this up to put me in jail.
Yeah. Oh yeah, just a couple
Jordan
out of
shot a
context
man.
phrases.
He got mugged and he shot a man, then he was laughing about it.
Shot him in the back, coward.
Coward.
I always knew he'd shoot someone in the back.
I knew it. Every time I ever looked at that man, I was like,
He's
that
a
guy,
coward.
that's a dude that'll shoot somebody in the
Never
back.
shoot me in the head like a man.
Golly. Dude, I think Mississippi's on the rise in a good
You
way.
think so?
I really
in what
do.
ways?
Temperature.
That's everywhere. Well done though.
Dude, it is hot.
It is.
It's not getting
yeah.
any better either.
I hardly ever drink hot coffee anymore. I
Yeah.
do an iced coffee every day. I
pretty
can't.
rough.
It's just bad.
I did
Yeah.
iced coffee this morning. I was like, why haven't I been doing this all summer?
Right?
This
Yeah.
is so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Anyway.
it's
Mississippi's on the
Stupid
rise.
hot.
How so?
No, I just got a feeling.
Oh, yeah.
All of
It's
us are feeling
anecdotal.
people.
There's no metric.
No, dude, it's wishful thinking.
All of a sudden,
It's
Mike is like, the
hopeful.
South will rise again.
It's like,
It's
oh,
like,
oh,
oh,
that called out.
Y'all,
Whoa.
let me tell you this. I might go back to the other story. It wasn't going to get that good anyway, but this one will be fun. Dude, my first day of school here when I moved here, I won't say the
Okay.
school I went to, but literally the first day I went to school, we moved in the middle of the school year. I think it was like the second quarter.
From Sodak, right?
Yeah, from South Dakota, which is just the hood. That's a lie. Okay, so I'm in South Dakota.
I was about to
moved in-
say,
Population of 50.
yeah. Move here, go into school, and I think my second class of the day was history. And I remember walking in and being a new student, it's always uncomfortable. School's starting. I've talked to a lot of kids. They're like, oh, it's a brand new school. I'm uncomfortable. I remember that moment. So I go in there, go into this class, sit down, and God is my witness. The teacher, the history teacher, is standing there in Confederate soldier garb,
Oh my gosh.
head to toe. He's got a Robert E. Lee bobblehead on his desk.
Oh, my.
Let's go.
And this was the summary of the first day's lesson that I got was the South actually won the Civil War.
Oh, boy.
And then that was the first time I heard the phrase, the South will rise again.
Dude.
And I remember thinking, what, terror? What is happening? And I just remember thinking, this
Dad,
is wrong.
why?
But like, what is happening right now? And then you see the
Question.
Robert E. Lee's head.
Was this a public or a private school?
It was a private
It
school.
was.
It was
I know
a
what you're
private
talking
school.
about.
Yeah. It was
Oh, my.
shocking. And that was the first time I thought,
He wasn't like in character, like, hey, today I'm representing the Confederate, army, and today I'm going to teach you from the Confederate point of view, and then
let
I'm
me
going to
say
go to
he
the
could
other.
have been. He just didn't give that disclaimer.
How old was he?
Mid 40s. Yeah, mid 40s. Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty young. I was picturing about 75.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
no,
I
no,
had
no.
Colonel
Yeah.
Sanders in
On
there.
his way out.
I'm like, okay, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's young.
Yeah.
He could
Wow.
potentially still be teaching.
No clue. He could be, yeah, but I have no clue
What's his
what's going on. Yeah, I'm not.
Let's find out.
Hopefully, he's been canceled by.
Yeah, like Mississippi isn't that.
Do you remember his reasoning behind thinking why we actually
That's
won?
the only part. I remember
When
it
I
was.
say we, by the way,
Oh boy,
I mean we as like
shooting
the
people.
South. We're in the South, not like
Yeah.
I.
I agree
I remember
with
it
you.
being
Yeah.
very political, kind of conspiracy thing, and it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
that world of that. But it
Interesting.
was going to rise again. Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, did you guys see what happened in Montgomery? We want to talk about that at all?
I do not know anything.
Mon-
You
about
don't know
Montgomery.
anything about it?
No.
I also don't.
Dude, let's
I
go.
don't know either.
Breaking
So
news.
there's a riverboat cruise or whatever that's going on up there, and so these white people had their pontoon parked where the riverboat needed to dock.
Ah,
You know what I'm talking
I've
about
seen
now?
a video about a
Yes.
a fight.
Yes.
Okay, keep going.
And so the people on the boat or the security guard from the cruise or whatever gets off and comes like, hey, you guys got to move. Like we're supposed to be here. And these white people jump this black security guard, and you just see a horde of people get off the boat, off the cruise ship. We're like, no, you're not doing that. And they all come over and beat the crap out of these people that were on the pontoon boat. Like there's videos of a dude that jumped off another boat, had nothing to do with it. He just saw what was going down. He jumps, swims across, gets out, and immediately, as soon as he gets up on the dock, he just starts throwing hands at white people. Like,
Really?
It's ridiculous.
I've only seen like one angle. It was not really a good angle. There was stuff in the way, but I do remember the one part that I thought was hilarious. And dude, this is gonna go viral. Like I think like not the whole thing's probably gonna go viral, but this
Well, it
one
already is.
moment where the guy, the security guard,
Oh yeah.
he's like this, and all of a sudden like he sees what's
Yeah.
about to happen, and he goes,
He throws his hat, dude.
Dude.
People are already posting memes. of,
That's
like,
that's
just
what the
like
hat
fucking
thing is all
circle.
about.
yes,
Dude,
and the
I keep
chair.
seeing.
Have you seen
those
the
two,
chair?
Yeah, I was like,
"No."
Yeah, so
Dude.
there's somebody got off the boat with a chair, a folding chair, and just starts going crazy on folks.
I have not seen all this.
I didn't know why everybody was posting pictures of,
Throwing their
of
hat?
hats
That's
flying
why
and
I
then
had
their
chairs.
shirt off or whatever.
Chairs.
Dude, and what's going on in the background? It's like all you hear is chaos. Like on the boat, the one that I saw, it's a video of like the side shot of it, and obviously the people that are on this boat watching it happen are just going nuts. But it's just like chaos. The whole thing is just chaos.
Sounds like a
It's
Royal
all
Rumble.
chaos. Oh yeah, it was.
I didn't see the whole jumping off, swimming, getting up.
There was
I haven't
one
seen all
dude.
that.
I've seen people refer to him as Aquaman because he jumped off the boat, swam over. As soon as he gets on the dock, just starts throwing hands.
Dude, speaking of fights, old Zucky and Elon, man.
Yeah.
Dude,
gonna
It's happening. I
It's
can't
gonna
believe it's
happen.
happening.
I
It's
can't
happening.
wait.
Is it in the Coliseum? Is that accurate?
dude, I think Biloxi got the bid.
No. I mean the the Roman Coliseum.
Oh, okay. I thought you were.
That's where
think
it's
so.
been talked about. It's going to happen in the Roman Coliseum.
That'd be
think
awesome.
they're trying to
Only
make that happen.
streaming on
Oh
X.
no, I didn't know about this.
They're
Yeah.
smart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I mean, I
Elon's,
will-
Elon's little flex.
I
He's
will
like,
buy
hey, we're
this.
gonna. Oh,
Oh,
yeah, 100%.
100%.
That's gonna be a watch
$175.
party.
Yeah, I mean,
He said all proceeds are gonna go to veterans with disabilities, so it's going towards
That's
a good
nice.
cause.
Yeah, I mean,
I
that's
love it.
great. I'm buying it
His
for the fight,
ultimate
though.
move. His ultimate.
It doesn't have to go anywhere. I mean, you can flush the money down the toilet.
Did you see the latest thing that Elon's selling? It's like a gag gift. He's selling cardboard boxes shaped like the Tesla truck that are for kitty litter. You have to assemble it yourself,
People are buying it?
like crazy.
They buy everything.
You can't get them.
they're so stupid.
I have one. I don't have a cat. I don't have a cat.
But I'm putting goose feed in there.
Yeah, goose feed. Actually, we
get
can
them
put it on
geese.
the set. We should.
So-
I want to put it on the set.
Dude,
So
yeah.
okay, so Brent me and Brent live close to each other. Brent said a story, and I wanted to fact check it, not fact check you, but I'm like I'm curious. So we have a bunch of geese around where we live, and it's true. Like this year, it's out of control. They're just everywhere, and every single day that I'm going to work, basically, they're always crossing the road. People are stopping. I'm more of the person that just says hit them. They'll learn from but apparently it's a federal offense or something like that, allegedly.
If you accidentally do it, it's not.
Yeah, I'm just gonna close my eyes every day
Oh,
between
yeah, I
the
blinked
ponds
hard.
and just.
I blinked hard.
Oh, that was my neighbor.
Whoops.
Uh-oh.
So one time I was going through the road, and dude, this is the longest row of geese like crossing the road, and I'm like, I gotta go, man. I don't
Yeah.
have like 3 minutes just to wait for these geese and all. And so like I kind of get close to the line, and I kind of boop boop, kind of honk a little bit, and kind of well then they figure it out, and they separate because they're animals, by the way.
Yeah.
They're animals. Anyway, so they separate, and then I go. And as I'm going, the other person that was waiting on the other side gave me the ugliest look. Like, they were just like,
That you drove through the geese?
that I would pressure them to split.
That you would have dominion over
That
the
I would
animals.
have to, yeah.
Ooh,
And dude, I
preach.
wanted to stop and get out and throw my hat up in the air. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to just, let's go. But no, I
Joel
wasn't going
brings
to
out
do
a chair.
Watch
Casey
out,
comes
goose.
swimming.
that. Casey comes out the pond.
He's been holding his breath in the pond for 2 days.
How long have you been there? Mind over matter.
I
Blood's
went into a
flowing.
trance. I was in the upside down world just hanging out with Elon.
Between portals just now.
The portal is the pond with the geese.
Casey's
Oh,
actually an
man.
alien this whole time.
It makes so much more sense, honestly. So these geese, there's a lady that's been riding a bike around our neighborhood area and like every day, and apparently she's been feeding these geese, and so geese are supposed to fly back up north during the summer, but these geese are not this year, and they're just chilling, and so Brent talked to her and basically explained to her that potentially she's messing with the migratory pattern of these birds, and they haven't gone back up because she's feeding them. I'm curious, like, did you do research on the migratory patterns? No,
Dude, was that all a
So it's
bluff?
just
it was all anecdotal.
You were just
of my
mad
own-
at her.
of
You
my
were just
own
mad because you got to
experience.
clean up goose poop.
So I did. As you were talking, I knew you were going to bring this up. So I started pulling up some articles.
I did a quick study this morning.
Last year, the past 2 years since we've been in an area with a lot of ponds, we've only seen like maybe 1 or 2 that are breeding and they're like mating with each other and they're just by themselves.
chicka,
This is
bow,
the
bow.
oh yeah, dude. This is the first year, and conveniently, this is the first year. Also, this lady, I guess, has moved into the area and she started feeding them, and we are now seeing a plethora of geese.
A lot.
It also might be maybe something to do with the
Double
heat.
El Nino.
Dude, it's really hot. Wind patterns. Who knows? There could be a lot of different reasons. I was a little perturbed that she was feeding them and they were just staying on our street in our ponds because, like Jordan says, hey, dude, they walk in the road. They do leave their fecal matter literally everywhere.
Oh yeah, it's
All
bad.
You
throughout our
can't clean
yard.
it up.
You got to
pretty-
pressure
it's
wash
pretty
that
gross.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Geese have been known to be pretty aggressive. I do
They
have
are.
a toddler, so we like to chill out by our pond. And sometimes there's literally like 40 geese in our pond, and then they start making their approach as we're walking outside. And it's like, hey, this is a little aggravating.
They think you're gonna feed them.
Yeah, no, dude, they're
Like the
aggressive.
lady?
They start making their noises. They're like,
Oh,
dude, it's weird.
Oh,
Geese
wow.
sound very
Yeah,
terrifying.
yeah. They got that hiss sound.
Like,
So did you talk to her face to face?
I did. I was going out there to talk to her civilly and just kind of like explain, hey, ma'am, I would appreciate you if you didn't feed these geese on our private property. My neighbor across the street, he also has a pond, and I didn't know he was coming out at the same exact
Oh,
really?
Oh,
bro. He was a little bit more aggressive
Yeah.
with his words. I took the low
He probably
road.
doesn't have a podcast reaching millions of people.
Dude.
every
Oh
week,
yeah, dude,
though.
millions
It's crazy.
international audience. We're in Canada too.
Oh, where the geese are from?
Oh yeah, dude.
Wow,
Maybe that's why they're down.
dude, they're
They want to
listening.
get on the
They
pod,
knew they want to be scrub striders.
Never.
Dude, you got one. Good.
dude. But anyways, so I started explaining to her. I'm like, hey, ma'am, please stop feeding these geese. You're messing with their potentially their migration pattern. Except I might have said it matter of factly, not potentially.
Potentially,
You're messing with our ecosystem.
I care about these animals more than you do.
You don't even know their migratory patterns.
Printed out a map, showed her.
Can you
no, I
even
didn't have any
speak
map.
Canadian? How are you speaking to
Eh?
them?
Anyways, I told her very
Yeah.
gently. I was like, hey, ma'am, please don't feed these geese in our pond. You're causing them to stay in our pond, and we honestly don't want them in our area. If you want to feed them where you're at, if you have your own pond, be my guest. Go ahead and do that, but please
Oh,
don't
power
feed them our
move.
pond.
If you got your own pond.
I like it. I like it.
Because I got mine.
What's
And my boy right here's got his own too.
dude, so my
Speak,
neighbor,
Sparky.
he does have a dog, and he says, it's illegal for me to kill him, but it's not. I talked to the federal or the agency, and they said I could sick my dog on them. We don't have problems with dog being aggressive towards the geese. So he said,
Now I got a chihuahua, but
he has a doodle. And so it's not a
Okay.
very aggressive looking
Yeah.
dog, but it was
They
kind
can
of
be
funny.
aggressive.
Yeah, doodles are aggressive, but they don't look aggressive. So it was kind of funny. I kind of chuckled when he said that.
What did she say?
She was just kind of like, she was kind of aggravated at him, and then she made eye contact with me, and she said, she says, okay, that's fine. I'm not going to do it anymore. And we haven't seen her since.
I have.
Yeah.
I have. Oh yeah.
oh,
A big bag of bread.
dude, what a beautiful end to the story.
Big bag of bread. Bow, bounce, 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 bounce.
Gonna go feed my geese. Gonna go feed my geese.
Dude.
I was amazed at how many people in our last episode or watched the last episode and commented on the spray. Like I think some were like, hey, where do you get it? Like, let me buy some. Links are getting dropped in comments saying this is where I can purchase it. So
Brent has an affiliate link in Amazon now.
For the throat
Drop it
saver.
there.
Are we starting this? Are we sponsored? Is that what's going on here?
Throat saver.
We're gonna start.
Hey, now I want to take 30 seconds.
Have you been having dry mouth? Potentially dry vocal cords? Do you have a problem with coughing nonstop? Boy, have I got a deal for you. Throat Saver, Herbal Edition.
It'll save your throat.
Call 1-800-333-4545.
Someone did comment. I think it was the clip, actually. They said, no one roasts you like your church fam.
Dude, speaking of roasting, I saw a video of yours after church on Sunday, and you posted a video. You know, a man's not even accepted in his own hometown was on full display.
That's right. Christ had to go elsewhere.
Is this a safe place?
Jordan had a big weekend, and it finished on Sunday morning, where we shared a message with the whole church. It was amazing, and you posted a video. And your oldest daughter, was just mocking you.
They just mocked me into the ground
for a mispronunciation.
Oh, every day.
So is that a frequent thing?
Oh, dude, literally every day of my life, my family laughs at me for something. So like when I talk in the car, if I'm praying before we go to bed, like at night, I'm praying and I say one syllable off. It's like I'm like,
God,
okay.
can we take a break right now?
Yeah. Guys, come on. Oh,
Lord,
dude.
I curse this child. She has no respect for the man of God.
I am the Lord's anointed.
Hope I don't see you in my dreams because some crazy stuff happens.
Don't turn your back on me. Yeah. No, I said, hey, today's gonna be a good. It's gonna be a good. And instead of saying day, I said tay.
That's it.
I went tay to day. And that was it. Nadine said in the seats, like she saw Ariana like go. I'm like, come on, it wasn't that big of a deal. And then they replayed it, and then they laughed, and then Elin gets on. Gets in on it.
Training Elin in the way.
Oh yeah,
You.
it's just. Oh, but look, so that's like that comes from Nadine and her family. So like, check this out. Years ago, we were dating.
This is a good story.
Yeah, I was like, we were, I don't know, 17, maybe somewhere up in there, and we're at, I was over at Nadine's house. Our whole family's there, and anyway, they would always say, "What you talking about, Willis?" All the time. Somebody say something. What you talking about, Willis? It's from the what's the show? Is it? What's the name of that show?
I picture his face. I don't know the name.
Not Family Matters, but
no, it's older than that. Good days,
Good times,
the smaller guy.
Good times.
I'm picturing him.
Ha.
I forget his name.
Drop it in the comments.
Drop it in the comments if you know.
Anyway, what you talking about, Willis? So they would always say that. Well, we were all in the living room, I don't know, talking, and somebody said something, and I said, "What you talking about, Lewis?"
Yeah.
The immediate
everybody stopped.
So cousins.
Oh yeah.
Our whole the whole family. We immediately just like you hear, dude. Immediately silent.
What you talking about, Lewis?
And Brent stands up and goes, "Get out!
You've disrespected my home. You've disrespected my family.
You're messing with the migratory patterns."
You got a bag of bread.
You need to migrate back to your house, Lewis.
Pretty much.
Dude, we all just looked.
Everybody
We're like,
looked
what are
at
you
me,
talking
and
about?
literally one person said, "What are you talking about?" Everybody acted and felt as though they had no idea what I was referring to.
I love it.
It was all a
Because
joke.
I
I
swapped
love
the
it.
W and the L.
Yeah.
Willis, Lewis. I swapped those up.
Yeah.
Done.
That's
and then
great.
I'm like, what? I was like, and somebody said, "Do you mean Willis?" And I was like, "Yeah, Willis. The thing." And
Say it again. Say it the
Say it
right
right.
way.
say it right.
You say it in silence. The moment's
Shout out
passed.
to all my Hispanic families out there. They roast like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, I don't know. My kids right now are they know one thing that just annoys the heck out of me. And I don't know why, but okay, my feet are ticklish, okay? Like
Really?
ridiculously. So I'll be in the living room with my feet kicked up, like literally on a Sunday afternoon. This last Sunday, there was like 30 minutes where I could. So I was like, man, I'm going to kick them up. I'm going to fall asleep. And when any of my kids walk by on the bottom of my foot, and y'all, I want to kick. Like it enrages me. I want to cuss. And it's like, oh, like all the things. Like,
Does it sound like a
dude? It
like,
does. I
yeah.
can't help
Yeah,
it. Like I throw my feet, and they think it's hilarious, so they wait, and they'll walk by. They'll wait till I'm almost asleep.
No.
Oh,
that's a
dude.
problem.
And I'm like,
Bro.
will you please stop it? And it's gasoline on a fire. They love it.
Oh, no.
They know how to get under my skin.
Ooh.
It's hard to get under my skin, or at least for me to show that you're under my skin. That one does it, and I'm calling out particularly Callie.
Oh, get her.
Yeah.
I hope she watches, and I'm going to visit her in her dreams.
I'm going to bring Jordan with me.
Dude, that's a lot of laughter.
Are we gonna have a real conversation? So the first episode was basically just
This.
Nothing either.
It was
The
this.
second one,
Can I update a story from last week real quick?
Okay.
oh, a story update.
So we talked, well, not really story, but we talked about Taylor Swift and her tour.
Yes.
So as we were recording, she released some new dates for next year that are in New Orleans. I think there's one in Canada, one in Miami, something like that.
next,
Just extending
so
it
this is all for next year.
next fall, next September. And
Like
so
24.
like yes, the same tour.
I didn't realize it was that far out.
Yeah, it's going to be in New Orleans mid September, October, I think. But anyway, the pre-sale for the tickets went on yesterday or day before, and they all sold out. So I was looking at StubHub. The cheapest tickets right now are $1,400. Hotels in New Orleans have already sold out for the entire weekend. It's 3 shows, and they sold out for like $700 a night.
It's insane,
Wow.
So
that's
thank
insane.
you, Taylor Swift, for boosting the economy.
dude.
That is
Wild.
That's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, those numbers, it blows my, because isn't it 3 nights that they
3
do a
nights.
New Orleans show?
Yep.
3 nights in a row.
3 nights in
3
New
nights in a
Orleans?
row.
So let's just think.
Oh.
let's
Friday,
just say,
Saturday, Sunday.
let's say with fees and stuff, at least $2,500 just for hotels. $2,500 for that, and let's say 4 people go.
Yeah.
4 times 1,400.
I don't know.
Well, if you
56.
Uh-oh.
5,600.
72.
we're leaving all that in.
I think it's 50. I think it's
We can do
5,600.
the calculation meme.
I think it's 5,600.
1,400 times 4. 4 is 60. Yes. 56.
How many can the Superdome
No.
hold?
Pretty sure.
How many can the Superdome hold? They'll sell it out.
I thought it was 90.
feel like that's
90,000.
right.
90,000?
But then the
87.
floor,
goodness.
that's like
87,000.
football. They got the
Oh,
floor
that's true, too.
I think I'd be over 100.
Yeah, gotta be.
Yeah.
And
I
how
would
much
think
per
around.
person are we talking about?
Well, if you got them from her website, you're only paying like $100 a ticket. But
Yeah, but
most people
You're
are
talking
reselling
about
them.
with travel and with food. I mean, just round it up to 10 grand. It's
Oh,
a
yeah.
10 grand concert experience
Mhm.
to do that. Well, if you stay in New Orleans for 3 nights, if you only stay one
If you
night,
only stay for one night.
you know, you can cut out what 1,400,
Yeah.
1,500
Yeah.
bucks.
So now it's only
9.
$9 grand. Much better.
Yeah, and that's 1,400. That's gonna be top.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, yeah, that's the
that's
worst
all
seat.
the
Yeah.
way up.
Yeah.
That's all the way up is $1,400. The
Man.
very top of the dome.
that's like one family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wild, dude.
Dude, good update, though.
It's wild. Yeah, the number that I saw last was 1.4 billion is what they're expecting the tour to do in revenue.
That's
I mean,
just
this is
incredible.
this is the biggest tour
It has to
monetarily
be.
ever, huh?
It has
Biggest
to
I've
be.
ever seen.
I don't know.
I know Beyonce's doing another tour right now, and I think she played in New York and did like 16 million for one show, I think is what it was. So
So she did a show, I believe it was in Baltimore or somewhere in Maryland.
Beyonce or
Beyonce,
Okay.
and I know her show went long, and the Metro
Oh, yeah.
was already shut down. So she personally paid $100,000 to get the Metro back up and running for all of her fans to get out. So I mean, but like you're just dealing with just extraordinary amounts of money,
yeah.
and you know,
It's wild.
but Taylor's in a whole nother world.
Yep.
But
That's
yeah,
it's crazy.
that is a good update, though. I tell you, if there's people out there that like care about what we talk about, I would encourage you to either comment or
Yeah.
send us an email, ncunscripted@northwood.church.
Yep.
And we're looking at those emails, and if you say something that we want to talk about, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, you can text Micah 228.
Yes. I really want to just insert Casey's phone number right there.
Dude,
Oh, man.
so I literally thought about it. The last
you?
episode of season 1, I almost said that his phone number was mine. Like, text me anytime. I didn't do it.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Casey.
We had a cool night last night. Last night we had, well, at the time this airs, it'll be a few nights ago. But, you know, during the summer, that's the busy time for student ministry. But during camps and conferences and just a couple gatherings, students like from all of our locations were saying, we want to get together more. And we're like, okay, cool, man. You guys want pool parties? You want, what do we want? What do we want to do? And they were, they'd go to movies and they'd hang out, go to restaurants. We're like, no, we want to pray together. So we're like, well, let's pray together. Let's do that. So we opened up one of our locations recently. And dude, we had like 57 people show up on this random night from all 4 locations to pray. Some of these, like we had people from 12 years old up to, and then we had leaders in the place too. And it was one of those things that we were talking with the leaders before it started. And we were like, okay, so what's this going to look like? And, we had a plan, but then it was, we've never really done this. So, I mean, we've had prayer nights as a church, but we've never really done this for students. So we don't know exactly what it's going to look like. So we had a couple pieces in play. And as it was taking place, over about an hour and 15 minutes, you'd watch about 15 minutes in, and it just felt like, it broke a little bit. It opened up a little bit. Like, people are not just relaxed, but they're pressing in right now. And then 30 minutes later, it was like, we're in the moment. We're pursuing God together as a group. And then, by the end of the night, there was one moment, I think it was an hour in, it was like the last thing. We sang the song Available, and then they got in groups, and all their schools were on the board. And I'm talking about from private schools to home schools to public schools. I think we had like 16 schools on the board, which is where our student ministry is from. And I walked around these circles of 5 to 6 students, and the majority of those circles, although leaders might have been in them, dude, we had 12-year-olds praying for their school.
Come on, dude.
We had 14-year-olds praying for their principals. We had some homeschoolers praying for their parents that they would lead them well in growing and knowing more. And I thought to myself, there is a spiritual hunger in our students. I believe there's a spiritual hunger in our church right now.
Yeah.
I'm talking about students just because that's one of my responsibilities, but there seems to be this desire to grow, but to pursue the presence of God, and this is a sweet time for our church. I'm reminded of 20 years ago, where those moments as even a teenager, like, God's here with me right now. I talked to a young man at the end of the prayer night last night. I just so happened to look. It was during the song, and there's that phrase, "You can have it all. You can have it all." And he's a quiet dude, naturally. But this dude was going after it in worship, video worship, I might add. Whoa, video worship, and he was singing so loud. "You can have it all. You can have it all." And although I didn't ask him exactly what that meant, I know exactly what that meant. It was this surrender, abandonment moment, and I think there's some sweet things happening in our church right now, just as we're being faithful, obedient. But are you guys noticing the same kind of thing?
Yeah,
just
dude,
this.
I agree. So we did a worship leader team night 4 weeks ago, a couple weeks ago, and it was just one of those moments. Jordan came and was talking about worship leading. And one of the notes I wrote down was like, our people want nights like these. And it's like, I got to find ways to actively feed it. Because for a while, it was like, man, do people want to be part of these environments? And dude, even with the creative team push, bro, I think we had 27 people come to creative team preview night. It's one of those things, like, a lot of people signed up, and it's like, all right, let's see who shows up. And everyone responded to text like super quick. It was like, I think people actually want to be part of what we're doing here. And for so long, at least for me, it was like 2020. It was like, all right, nobody wants to come to church. Nobody wants to be on your team. Nobody wants to do these things. Mm-hmm. And you kind of get stuck in that default way of thinking of like, I'm the only one that actually wants to do this. And then you throw out a line and people are like, oh, yes, this is incredible. And it humbles you. It's like, oh, no. Like,
well, like people
want to
do more.
His church. Yeah.
People want to do more. It's like, oh. Yeah. It's not just, we don't want to just maybe meet one time a week or just, it's like, we want to be together. We want to grow. We want to pursue God together.
Yeah, dude. And then I'm leading a worship leader group where we're reading a book together. So we met for the first time.
Dude, I heard about that.
We met for the first time Sunday, and people were like, yeah, like we get to read a book together and talk about worship leading and theology and doxology. I was like, dude, this is incredible. So it's like a responsibility, like, people want this. So I, like, just in my job, I have to create space for people to get together in these moments. But it's encouraging. It's like,
okay, so one of the guys in your small group, he attends the Long Beach location. He's one of our worship leaders. This was his day on Sunday. He served on Sunday morning. He led worship in both services. And then immediately after, he went to a small group. And then immediately after that, he went to, he's in Freedom. He's in Freedom. So he went to like the team met, and I think it was the Freedom. Anyway, he met, had lunch, ate some pizza with that group, and immediately after that, there was a small group launch party because he's one of the leaders. So I watch him walk in, and maybe it's that thing that you were just saying. I guess I'm ultra aware of what it felt like everybody was saying recently is, man, less. So I know what this dude just did. I know what his day was. And I watched him walk in full of life, full of energy, but not just like hype. The dude was excited about what God's doing. So I talked to him, we shook hands, hugged. I said, bro, how are you? He said, oh, I'm awesome. So we had our small group launch party. It ends at 7:30.
Yeah.
He gets up. He says, this is one of the best days I've ever had. He said, I'm just around the family. I'm around the church. And he says, like, this is what I was born to do. And this is a guy that's not paid. This is a guy that is a complete volunteer in different arenas, but he's so spiritually hungry. You know what? His wife is too. His family is too.
That's
and
exciting.
What's funny is they're going through hell in a lot of ways.
Yep.
Like behind the scenes, everything says shut down, hide in a corner, preserve. And as they're walking through difficulty, man, God is surrounding them with Christian community, but also they're surrounding themselves with Christian community. It's the responsibility really on the individual's part.
Yeah.
So it's those kind of stories.
Yeah, I think it's not just Northwood, us.
Yeah.
I think that the global church has, and when I say global, I really should just localize it to America. There's ebbs and flows. And the people of God. So in the Bible, it says the Israelites. I mean, God wanted His people to continually communicate, the law and teach their kids the law, and then it basically says a generation passed, and basically the parents didn't do a good job.
Yeah.
And so the next generation came up, and they didn't really know the ways of God. They didn't follow the ways of God. They didn't have a hunger for God because they weren't aware of it. And then it just kind of had to play out. Yeah. And it plays out in distance from God and all of the things that come with that. And we can see that very clearly in Scripture. And typically for them, it was like worship of false idols and, potentially intermarrying with other cities, and then, having kids adopting the worship practices of the surrounding cities, and then they would fall. God would have to judge them and reset things. And so, it's a very extreme, very big example. Yeah. In a small way, though, I feel like the church goes through that. Yeah. I feel like there's generations there's things that I experienced whenever I was a teenager, and that I believe the American church kind of in a way was experiencing, and like the Spirit's moving in a certain way, and then it's almost like people get used to that. And the very thing that got them where they were with God in regards to closeness and unity and there's words like revival, stuff like that, but like just different moves of God. That generation kind of it's sort of like, okay, we did that. We did it.
I agree with you.
Okay, cool. What's next? So kind of hit the brakes or kind of just take the foot off the gas. And then all of a sudden, 7 years later, 10 years later, it's like, okay, what are we going to do? Yeah. So there's a natural ebb and a flow, and I'm not saying that that's right, man, but also at the same time, there's dry seasons in life, in church, in anything.
You're right.
Sometimes you just have to wait. And I was literally, I had lunch yesterday with Rick Zachary, who's he is I don't know if you want to be called the president, but he's the guy in charge of Church Asia, a missions organization that we support, and we were talking about a lot of stuff. We're talking about church and all kind of stuff, and I was telling him in regards to just Northwood, the last few years for me, just personally, I haven't felt like we were in a time to look to growth. And what I mean by growth is, if you're a family and you are talking about having kids, typically, like in a perfect scenario, where you're kind of planning things out, and the question you ask, are we ready to have kids? Are we financially ready to have kids? Mm-hmm. Are we emotionally ready? When me and Nadine were married, she wanted to start having babies, and I was like, we ain't ready. We ain't ready. Yeah. And so we backed off because it wasn't time. But then there comes a moment, and everybody who's, had this moment in their marriage, it's like, we're ready.
Yep.
We want, and sometimes there's surprises and we get all that. But you guys get what I'm talking about. It's like, we're ready to move forward in our family.
Yeah.
it's not very much different in a church, because church is so relational, it's so spiritual, it's so covenant, that you can feel whenever a church family is ready to grow and expand in multiple ways, like whether that be come on, there's all the strategies and the
Sure.
containers, there's groups, there's services, there's locations and all that kind of stuff. But kind of going deeper than that, when there's a health, I believe that for the last few years, that's what we've been praying and working on.
I agree.
Working out of us too. Hurt, we had to heal. We had to rediscover or focus our attention on what it is that God was leading us to do and be. And I believe when those things come together, there's a stability at the foundation and the core that then God begins to. I think God trusts people with the people that He wants to be in His kingdom.
I agree with that.
You know, and I can't figure all that out, but there's something to that. You know, and so I believe that we're in a time, and I will say this, not just Northwood, a lot of the churches that I know of and people I talk to, there's growth happening in the kingdom in a lot of different ways. And so I think a lot of the people in the last few years who have been hypercritical of the kingdom, hypercritical of the church, you know, overall, I understand that, but I also think that fed the cynicism in the church. And I think there's a fallout from that with a large group of young people who bid into all that stuff. The enemy works in crazy ways to destroy the church.
Yeah.
He works in crazy, and he'll even use the truth to do it. He'll use the truth, and he'll compound negativity and criticism and cynicism and all of these things. He'll compound those things in order to destroy trust between one another, between leadership in the church, all sorts of things in order to undermine it. And I think there are a lot of people kind of just fade it to the side out of that. And what you have is you have those who remained, the remnant, who are rising up, and there's a new health that's being formed. And I'm not just talking about Northwood. I'm talking about the kingdom of God.
Absolutely.
And I believe what we're going to see is a whole lot of people who have left the church and have left. I don't want to say left God, because that's not the same thing.
Nope.
You know, I believe that there's a overlap there. I think there's a lot of people who God has calls in their lives and has giftings in them that are going to heal, and they're going to return.
Yes.
Might return differently, but they're going to return. And I believe the kingdom's going to grow through all of this.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so, I mean, our church is growing. I know there's churches all over the place that are growing, and God's moving. And honestly, I guess for me being in church my whole life, I've just seen this happen so many times that I'm like, no, the church ain't done.
No.
You saw these articles that come out. The church, this is it. This is the one. I'm like, nah, man.
Yeah, just like Satan's trying to destroy it, I think God's still working to build it.
100%.
It's like, sure, Satan's going to get some blows in, but it's nothing that's catching God off guard.
No. Yeah.
It's like, he's like, oh, that's what you want to do? It's like, okay, have your thing. It's like, boom, now we're back. And it's encouraging for me. We went to a conference this summer, and one of the things was like, God is the one who builds His church. Like, it's not you, it's not a pastor, it's not me, and it's comforting to actually see that play out and be like, oh yeah, I don't really have anything to do with this. It's like I'm doing my part.
God uses those who are willing, and who remain.
Yep,
that's what He does, and I don't know why He does that, but he it's not always the big flashiest stuff, people or whatever. It's those who remain. I mean, look in Israel. There was a remnant.
Yeah.
There was people who I was reading. I can't remember. I think it was in Ezra. But anyway, where the prophet found out that the Israelites they had started intermarrying. They had started doing some of the things that I was just talking about. And he like ripped his clothes, and he was he was just so upset about it. But then he said, then he remembered that there was some people who remained.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm sure there was some people who went off and started doing some stuff who repented and came back in that process. It's not like they were completely cut off. Yeah. But there was a core of some people who said, I'm not gonna go that direction. Yeah. I'm gonna remain.
We still remember what God did.
We still remember what God did, exactly. Yeah. And so I understand why there I felt what you were saying. It's like, man, people really don't want to. And it's like, there was a lot of that. There was a lot of that in me. Let me just be honest. 2020, dude, once we all had to stay home, I ended up loving that. I ended up loving the fact that I had an excuse to not do anything in a lot of different ways. Now I tell you, I wanted to play golf, right? And that's one thing you'll notice if you just think about it, in the last 3 years, in your own heart, in your own mind, what things did you really miss in that time whenever everything was kind of shut down, and what things did you crave to do? And for a lot of people, I think that what they didn't miss, the thing that they were excited to not do, had to do with a lot of church stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a multifaceted answer for that and a reason why. I think there's a lot of people who are burnt out.
Yeah.
And I can say this for me. In hitting pause on a lot of activity, for me, it removed all of the activity, and what was left was, what was that activity for?
Sure.
What was
Yeah.
And I personally have reconnected with the why behind all of those things. And now when I engage in a creative team night, or I engage on a small group, or I engage in a whatever, the things that we do,
Yep.
my heart has been reset in the purpose of it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no, that does matter. No, people gathering together in small groups or in a service or one-on-one or whatever the case is, and what happens in that interaction, the teaching, the worship, the prayer, the fellowship. Like I believe Acts 2 more than I did before 2020.
Yep.
Yeah, dude.
So that's what I've been feeling, and I think that a lot of other people are feeling that, and I think believers are saying, no, I have taken a break for 2-3 years. I've been out of the mix, but I know what I'm feeling dry.
Yeah.
I'm feeling disconnected, not just from people, but from the body of Christ, and that's a deeper thing than just, oh man, I hadn't hung out with anybody lately.
Yeah. It's different.
It's not. It's
Dude.
fellowship.
Yeah.
Yeah, I talked to two guys recently, two young adult guys, probably in their mid-20s, and both separately, their experience. One guy, in the middle of 2020, he had moved to a new city. He's in the Northeast, and he was like, man, I need to connect with other Christians. So he got connected to a Facebook group, a Christian Facebook group. And he was like, oh, man, this is great. All young adults, we're all like back and forth, going back and forth. Hey, we're praying for each other. We're trying to disciple each other. And he realized, he became a moderator of the group. He was like, man, I'm leading in this thing. And we were talking about it. And I was like, man, tell me about your experience with that. He says it got to a point where we had no pastor like leading us in any direction. He says things start getting weird. He started using words like, man, I felt like we had no like covering on like, hey, this is where this. He started throwing out language in the comments. He's like, hey, I think we should all like be a part of a church wherever. Yeah, this community, this online community is great, but I really think we all need to be a part of an actual community. And they started like, no, this is great and stuff like that. So he ended up removing himself from that community. And he was like, whenever he found himself down here in Mississippi, he was like, dude, I need to be a part of a church. So he got connected here. And another guy, me and Jordan were talking to him recently, got connected. He was on the West Coast, was part of a church, moved to the Northeast as well, got connected to a church, and then moved down here. And in that limbo period, he was like, hey, I'm going to start connecting to a big influential church online, and got connected to some of those groups. But he was telling me and Jordan, he was like, man, I feel like I'm missing something. I'm missing the connection with actual people. He was like, they don't know me. He says, I could just put a front on. He says, it's all digital. Like, I'm not like actually having any community with anyone physically. He says, there's something missing here about the online church that doesn't suffice what God has actually created us for.
Yeah.
And it confirms to me, just hearing all this, is like, man, I feel like a lot of people have maybe dove into some of the online stuff, and I think there's room for that. Hey, we're online, and we're providing a space for people to have fun talking about God things, but it's like, we're not only doing this.
Yeah.
We have a physical community, we have groups, we have gatherings where we're intentional on having covenant relationship with each other, because it's bigger than just some digital platform.
Yeah.
It's about having a covenant relationship with people that you actually know you and know your face and actually know what you're dealing with, so you can share what's happening in your life. So I think it's just kind of ignited in me. It's like, hey, digital's great, but real life community matters a lot more.
Yeah.
Yep.
You were talking a second ago about waiting, and that scripture, those that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. in a world that waiting feels, it's frustrating, but also it feels like nothing's happening when you're waiting. It's like, no, we got to make something happen. And even on personality types, it's like, if you're a fixer, and waiting is torture, but I think waiting is probably one of the greatest displays of faith that we can ever have. Is, okay, where's my confidence actually? And I believe for a season, and you led us really well. You really did, Jordan. Where we're gonna rest. We're gonna let some things settle. And I believe, although we might not use the word wait, I think that's spiritually what was taking place, and that applies to our own life. Sometimes when things are just bad or tough or dry, wait upon the Lord.
Yep.
Wait upon the Lord. Man, the greatest acts of faith might not be stepping out and going and do. Maybe it's staying and waiting.
Yeah.
And let the Lord, when things settle, remember, that purest form of the beauty of the gospel, and let that inform what we do. And I think when that's the reality, that's what makes the creative meetings pop. Man, that's
you said something reminded me. In any situation in your personal life, or your business, your family, a church, anything, you have three choices to make, and you need discernment and wisdom to know the difference. It's and the picture would be a plant. Let's say you got a plant in your backyard, and it's something's not going it's not going right. It's wilting a little bit. The decision is whether to uproot it, throw it away. You know what I'm saying? Transplant it, move it, like something very pretty intense, right? To just leave it, let it set, see what happens, give it time, or to invest a lot of energy and a lot of resources in trying to improve it and restore it, right? And you know what? All three approaches are right whenever it's right, and all three approaches are extremely wrong when it's wrong.
Yeah.
And the discernment and the wisdom to know which one to do is very tough.
Yeah.
And you think about a relationship that seems to be struggling. It's like, do I cut the relationship off? Do I just continue to remain and let's just give it time? You know what I'm saying? Or do I invest a lot of energy in trying to, fix it? A church that's, and this is where every pastor and every church was at in 2020 for sure.
Yeah, you're right.
It's like, do we shut this thing down?
Yeah.
Like, are we dying? Are we dying, or is this it? What do we do? And if you try too hard, it's like making a hamburger. You can mess with the ground meat too much, and then the ground meat loses its viscosity or whatever it would be called, and it falls apart. Or do I just not do anything, and seek God, or just keep faithful to what we've been doing, or do we need to completely change everything and just kind of shut things down and all that? And for me personally, as far as Northwood's concerned, it was more remain. It was stay faithful. It was don't have knee-jerk vision. Mm-hmm. Don't try to, don't hype. Don't hype up something that's good. Like, no. Heal, rest, remain, and just it was that middle choice. And I believe that was, has played out to be the right thing. I mean, there was Sundays where it was like,
it was tough.
Okay, this is
coming back, please. Please come back.
The doors are open.
And I'll say this, and if you know us, and we've talked about this a lot. We talked about the Sunday numbers are not. We don't worship numbers. Yeah. We don't. It's not like, oh, this is how many people we had Sunday. For the sake of And what I said Sunday was like, if you go to the doctor and you get your blood pressure, and your blood pressure's right, it's healthy, it's the right numbers, you don't celebrate the numbers. Just, oh, wow, the numbers are good. Yay, those are good numbers. You're celebrating, if you're smart, you're celebrating that your body is healthy.
What the numbers are telling you.
They're an indication of health. That's what it's like, okay, hey, I had high blood pressure. I changed my diet. My blood pressure is accurate now. It's like, dude, yes, I made changes and I'm healthy. I'm going to have a better life. Whatever the case is. In church world, we don't celebrate numbers just to celebrate numbers. It's pointless. We celebrate numbers because of what it indicates.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you know, you're looking at the numbers and it's like, okay, man, it's not horrible, but it's definitely like, okay.
Yeah.
But I had to come to the point of, God, no matter what those numbers are, you have called me and gifted me, and I'm going to remain faithful and steward well whatever it is that you give me, if it's a lot or it's a little, meaning more influence, more people, more whatever, growth, another location, like that kind of stuff.
God, you
or
know what's
smaller.
right for me.
Yeah. You know what my capacity is.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know?
We don't have ever extending capacities.
No.
Yeah.
And so it really, you die to yourself, you die, and that's what I mean by connecting with core things in the right way. And but I do believe that God wants to expand his kingdom. I do believe that I believe that he says in Genesis, be fruitful and multiply, and I think that applies to reproduction in regards to people. But I think it also is an implication on the things that God gives us.
Yeah.
That he wants us to steward our finances well for his glory. He wants us to steward the things that he gives us. If we really believe that all things come from him, then we have to have the right motives and the right heart. But we also have to realize that God is a God of growth. He really is. It's his will that none perish, but people have life. And he says, you go and you spread the gospel. You go and make disciples. He doesn't say just go make one disciple. Make disciples. Reach the nations, like every tribe and tongue. I mean, this language throughout Scripture is about expansion and it growing, and that's what he's given us. And he says, I'll be with you always. And so we have to have confidence that he's with us. Yep. And that's right. We need him to search our motives and our hearts.
It's going to cost a lot.
Oh, yeah.
It costs everything.
It's continual. And we continue to progress in the kingdom. And we don't fear, don't get freaked out.
No.
When he's with us, we don't have to fear.
No.
We were sharing those numbers, and my favorite part of the service was the crowd's reaction on one particular number. And because we shared a lot of different things, but when we shared the number of baptisms. Dude, like that was the biggest response from the crowd, knowing that we have baptized more people at this point this year than we did even last year.
Yeah.
Like that's Great Commission numbers. Like it's like, come on, Jesus. You know, so
and if you're a person, and this is another big part of this, if you are a person who knows one of those people who got baptized, if you are a part of actually doing the Great Commission, meaning you are praying with someone, you are praying for someone, you are discipling someone relationally, you're having meaningful conversations, you're teaching people the word, you're you know, if you are involved in the Great Commission and you see those numbers are not just numbers, they connect to stories, and it's literally I've seen God move in people's lives directly through what we as a church are doing. We're on mission. I'm encouraged. I'm excited about that. Thank you, God, for using me to be a part of this. And those who are not connected to that and who are just sitting idly by, critically or cynically or whatever the case is, you know, either they are not potentially converted, like there's not a heartbeat, a pulse in them for the things of God, or they're allowing the enemy to take something that is being celebrated for pure reasons and to cynicize it, if that's even a word, to see the negative in it, and then to criticize what God is doing. And to me, I've always, as a believer, I've always had to check that, because I tend to be a negative guy. I tend to be negative. And God convicted me on some things. He's like, why are you criticizing in your mind the things that I'm doing? Like, why are you criticizing? Like, I'm moving in people's lives. Like, I'll give you an example. So last night, kids coming together to pray. People who are critical or cynical would say potentially like, oh man, it's just a bunch of young people getting together. They're just excited because of this, and this. What you just did is you looked through a critical lens at something that God, at the very least, God is potentially doing in people's lives, at the very least. And who are you to flip it that way? How many people did that whenever Jesus was healing people. They said,
Oh, yeah.
there's no way that he's God and he's doing that. It must be demons.
Yeah.
So it's a warning to me consistently to remain humble and pure-hearted and not give credit to the enemy to what God is doing or potentially doing. I don't know. It's just that's been something that's in my heart even through the last few years with all this shifting in the church world. It's like, man, we got to be careful in our generation that we don't use the tactics of the world, which is negativity, criticism, cynicism, and just apply that to the church because everybody's doing that to the government or to a people group or to whatever.
Oh, yeah.
We got to be careful in that, man. And you talk about quenching the spirit.
Yeah.
I think that might qualify as quenching the spirit whenever God just begins to move, and then the people of God potentially, or a part of the people of God, begin to squelch that or be critical of that.
Hey, so next week we've got something cool. We're doing something a little bit different. We've got a member of our church coming here.
Let's go.
And like plugged in, just been a part of a lot of different things, but then it's got a really cool story, just life, where they've been. But we're going to have an open and honest conversation with them, kind of interview about life. So I'd encourage us to be ready for that, but also if you're watching this now and you just got questions, maybe in the business realm or like just life, this is going to be one of those open topics, open conversations.
Nice.
But this is a father of 4 adults now, and would be considered a successful business person, but absolutely loves Jesus and their family. So those are the kind of the parameters that we're going to be talking around. So if you want to have any conversation around that for us, but also for comments and emails, unscripted@northwood.church, drop those or send those emails, and I think it's going to be a great time. But
Business.
business.